This village has no ocean view. The ocean is right there, behind that. The wall is taller than a 4-story building. It runs for 400 kilometers. The people it protects, many of them hate it. They say they live inside a prison. Japan built it anyway because of 40 minutes in 2011. That killed more than 18,000 people. And because of one small village that survived, behind a wall everyone said was insane to build. This is the Great Wall of Japan, March 11th, 2:46 in the afternoon, a Friday. Children are in their last class of the day. Fishing boats are coming in. 80 kilometers offshore, the floor of the Pacific rips apart. Magnitude 9, the 4th most powerful earthquake ever recorded. Enough energy to shift the entire island of Honshu 2.5 meters east. Enough to tilt the axis of the Earth. The shaking lasts 6 minutes. 6 minutes is an eternity. Most earthquakes are over in 30 seconds. Japan, the most earthquake-ready nation on Earth, rides it out. Skyscrapers in Tokyo swing like trees and stand. The buildings hold. The trains stop safely. For a moment, it looks like the system worked. Then the ocean goes quiet and starts to leave. Harbors drain. Boats settle onto mud that hasn't seen air in centuries. Every coastal generation in Japan is taught what a retreating sea means. It means the sea is coming back. The sirens begin. Along 400 kilometers of coast, the same announcement over and over: a major tsunami is coming. Get to high ground, now. 30 minutes later, it arrives. Not one wave. A moving wall of black water, filled with cars, ships, and burning houses. In some bays, 40 meters high, higher than a 10-story building. The town of Taro thought it was ready. Taro had been destroyed by tsunamis twice before, 1896 and 1933. So Taro spent 50 years building its own Great Wall. 10 meters tall, 2.5 kilometers long, shaped like an X. So famous that engineers from other countries came to study it. They called it Invincible. People held evacuation drills on top of it. Tourists took photos from it. The wave arrives. It doesn't break through Taro's wall. It doesn't need to. It climbs over it and uses the wall as a ramp. Behind the invincible wall, Taro is erased, not damaged, erased, down to the foundations. And the wall didn't just fail, it did something worse. It made people feel safe enough to stay. By nightfall, 400 kilometers of coastline are gone. Whole towns exist only as debris fields. More than 18,000 people are dead or missing. And a nuclear plant called Fukushima is flooding because its seawall was built for a wave half this size. Japan had walls. Japan had warnings. Japan had 40 minutes. It wasn't enough. But in one bay, something strange happened. Kamaishi, home of the deepest breakwater ever built. Nearly 2 kilometers long, 63 meters of it underwater. It took 30 years to build, $1.5 billion. The Guinness Book of Records certified it as the deepest breakwater on Earth. The tsunami hit it head-on and partially collapsed it. Concrete blocks weighing thousands of tons scattered across the seabed like toys. And yet, the broken breakwater slowed the wave, cut its height in the harbor nearly in half, and bought the city 6 extra minutes. 6 minutes doesn't sound like much. 6 minutes is thousands of people reaching high ground. In Kamaishi, almost 3,000 school children evacuated in those minutes. Nearly every single one survived. Japan calls it the Miracle of Kamaishi. The engineers call it something else, the wall doing its real job. Because this is the uncomfortable math of tsunami defense. Walls don't promise to stop the ocean. They promise to slow it down. And in those stolen minutes, everything is decided. In the ruins, rescue teams work through snow, because that night, in the middle of the disaster, it began to snow on the survivors. 500,000 people are in shelters. The country grinds to a halt, watching the same footage on every channel, asking the same question: How do we make sure this never happens again? So Japan faced a choice no country had faced at this scale. Rebuild the towns, raise the old walls a little, and hope, or wall off the entire coastline of Tohoku? They chose the wall. 400 kilometers of it, $12 billion, 440 separate sections, stitched together into the largest coastal defense project in human history. The scale breaks normal construction logic. Entire concrete plants built on site because trucking that much concrete in would take decades. Whole hillsides quarried for stone. In some towns, the ground itself was raised. Entire neighborhoods lifted meters higher on artificial hills of compacted earth before a single house was rebuilt. A tsunami wall is not a fence. It's an iceberg. For every meter you see above ground, there's an anchor of steel and concrete driven deep below. Because engineers studied the 2011 failures and found the wave didn't just push walls over, it dug under them. It scoured away their foundations and tipped them like dominoes. So the new walls are trapezoids, wide at the base, narrow at the crest, sloped like the back of a dam. Not to stop the wave dead, to bend its energy upward and steal its speed. At the peak of construction, tens of thousands of workers are on the coast, so many that the region runs short of concrete, short of trucks, short of beds to sleep them in. Section by section, town by town, year by year. In some places, the wall stands over 15 meters, taller than the wave that started all this, in that exact spot. That's the design philosophy now. Not what the sea has done, what it might do. And the wall is wired. Seismic sensors offshore. Sirens on every street. Automated floodgates that seal roads and river mouths the moment the earthquake alarm fires, no human hand required, because the next wave will also give Japan only minutes, and humans hesitate. But as the concrete rose, something else happened. Towns that had faced the ocean for 1,000 years stopped being able to see it. And in the fishing ports, people started asking a question the engineers couldn't answer with concrete. What if the wall is a mistake? Before that argument, though, you need to meet the man who started all of this, 40 years before the tsunami, in a village called Fudai, 1933. A tsunami hits the Tohoku coast in the middle of the night. In the village of Fudai, it kills hundreds. Almost every family loses someone. The village had already been devastated once before, in 1896, twice destroyed in one generation. Among the survivors is a young man named Kotaku Wamura. He never forgets what the water did. He carries it through his whole life. Decades later, he becomes Fudai's mayor, and he makes one promise: never again. Not here. His plan: a floodgate across the village valley. 15.5 meters tall, a number everyone tells him is absurd. The prefecture's engineers say 10 meters is plenty. The budget office says it's a waste of public money. The newspapers call it Wamura's Folly. He refuses to lower it, meeting after meeting, year after year for over a decade. His argument never changes. The 1933 wave was bigger than you think. I was there. I saw it. The gate is finished in 1984. $30 million for a village of 3,000 people. It is, per person, one of the most expensive public works in Japan. And then, nothing. For the next 27 years, the gate does absolutely nothing. It just stands there in the Green Valley, the most expensive monument to one old man's fear. Wamura dies in 1997. At his retirement, he told the village, "Even if you meet opposition, have conviction, and finish what you start. In the end, people will understand." Most people didn't. March 11th, 2011, 2:46 p.m. The earthquake alarm fires in Fudai. The gate Wamura spent his life defending begins to close. The tsunami that reaches Fudai's valley is over 20 meters in the open bay, taller than the gate itself. It slams into 15.5 meters of steel and concrete. The water explodes upward. Spray clears the top. But the gate holds. Behind it, the village is almost untouched. Houses standing, schools standing, streets dry. The only man Fudai loses that day had gone seaward of the gate to check on his boat. In the towns on either side of Fudai, towns with normal, sensible 10-meter walls, the destruction is near total. In the weeks after, something begins happening on the hill above the village. Villagers walk up to Wamura's grave. They line up. They bow, one by one, to the man they had called a fool for 40 years. The 400-kilometer wall exists because of what happened everywhere else. But its blueprint, the belief that too much is exactly enough, that came from Fudai. So the case for the wall is written in Fudai. The case against it is written everywhere else. In the fishing ports, the wall took the one thing a fisherman can't work without, the sight of the sea. For generations, they read the water every morning from their kitchen windows. The weather, the tide, the danger. Now they read concrete. Children are growing up on the coast without ever seeing the coast. Locals have a phrase for it: living in a prison, where the guard is the ocean. And here is the hardest argument, and it comes from the survivors themselves. In 2011, the people who saw the water coming ran. Many of the people who trusted the walls stayed, and the walls were what killed them. A wall you believe in can be more dangerous than no wall at all. Taro proved it with 50 years of false confidence. Some towns fought back. A few refused the full height. They negotiated a lower wall and kept their horizon. One mayor put it simply: we would rather see what's coming. The biologists have their own charge sheet. Beaches starved of sand. Shallows cut off from the wetlands that feed them. Fish nurseries walled into decline. The wall protects the towns by slowly strangling the coast they live on. $12 billion, 400 kilometers, and a country genuinely split on whether it built a shield or a blindfold. Because here is what everyone in Japan knows and nobody enjoys saying: the next one is already loading. South of Tokyo runs the Nankai Trough, a fault line with a schedule. It ruptures roughly every 100 to 200 years, and it's due. Government scientists put a megaquake there at roughly 70 to 80% probability within 30 years. The projected waves are as tall as anything 2011 produced, and they'd strike coastlines with 30 times the population. Will the wall stop that? The honest engineering answer: no wall stops a great tsunami. The wall's real job is Kamaishi's job. Steel height, steel speed, steel minutes. Which is why Japan's other defense might matter more. The drills every school child runs every year. The phone alerts that fire before the shaking arrives. The evacuation towers rising in flat coastal towns. Steel staircases to nowhere, waiting. Concrete buys the minutes. People have to use them. In Fudai, the gate that saved everyone is being raised even higher. The village that was called crazy has decided it wasn't crazy enough. So the wall stands. 400 kilometers of one country's answer to the sea. Part shield, part scar, part bet. Somewhere out there, the Pacific is already winding up the next one. Nobody knows if the wall will be tall enough. Only that this time, Japan refuses to find out unprepared. If this is the kind of engineering story you want more of, subscribe.